Welcome into This Week in UNC Baseball with head coach Scott Forbes. I'm Tommy Ashley. That's Matt Clements. We're sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt, johnnytshirt.com. Coach Forbes, a successful week, 5 wins. It's not too often you get 5 solid wins on a week, and you play probably not the best baseball you could play. But I do want to ask a question that somebody asked me earlier. You're way ahead. You're up 20-5 or 20-6 or whatever it was against Wagner, and Princeton games get out of hand. And the umpires are still calling borderline balls and strikes. Can you sort of explain to folks so they understand how it's not like it once used to be, where if it's a blowout, everybody's ready to get out of there? Just sort of explain how the game's changed.
Yeah, as soon as, the accountability is way better now for umpiring, which was needed. And that came from the track, man. If you watch Major League Baseball, there's a zone. You see it. You see the box. And if you're not good that day, it's going to be all over. So now umpires are held more accountable, like we all are in the business world. There was video, but still you go back and watch the video. It was what it was. The great thing now is you have to be pretty close to 90% or you're not going to be behind the plate in the ACC and the SEC. And that's ball and strikes in and out of zone. So, I've been really pleased with what I've seen, and it rewards your hitters. So you're not going to see it as much. Umpires, they're just not going to be able to open the zone like that because the post-game report, if it says you were under 90% or you were 84, 80%, you're going to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, it's an interesting change. I mean, would you guys have 18 walks or something like that against Wagner earlier in the year? So you're right. It rewards the hitters, absolutely. And I want to talk about what you all did well this week. And I thought Jason DeCaro and Aiden Hawk were fantastic. DeCaro, of course, has moved into that starter's role. You can expand on that. But I thought Aiden was, first of all, I can't get over how big these kids are. Because talking to him in postgame, I mean, he's one of the few times I've ever had to look up to a baseball player. This young man has got size, he's got length. Just sort of talk about what you saw from both of those guys this week.
Yeah, when you have a newer pitching staff, which we have, and you lose your Friday night guy and Jake Knapp, I knew it was going to take a little while for these roles to kind of emerge. But we did like the potential of the staff. And we're still trying to figure out some of the roles, but we knew Jason DeCaro. We knew what we saw with our own eyes. He is only 17, but he graduated a year early. Got a great arm, still had a chance to sign professionally. A lot of teams were really, really on him. And I think if he's a high school senior, he might be the first high school pitcher taken in the draft this season. That's how talented he is. I mean, what else are you looking for if you're going to watch a high school game than a kid that's holding his velocity, that the arm works. It's a big, long, athletic frame. So we, with his age, we thought, okay, let's try to get him out there and start him midweek and get him some confidence and see if we can lengthen him out a little bit, knowing that he'd probably move into the weekend rotation. He passed those tests, had a really good outing against a really good VCU team who I think can hit. They left here. They beat Maryland pretty good. I don't think they may not have lost since they played us. So he's going to continue to get better. He's young, so he's got some things to learn, but he's got pitchability. He's got multiple all-speed pitches, so he can go through the order more than 1 or 2 times potentially. So to see him do that has helped us a ton. And Halleck's the same way. I mean, right now he's relieving, but he could turn into that starter. But, man, he's been really good out of the bullpen, and he can strike you out, and he's recovering well. And then yesterday, he's been fighting a little bit of a back strain. He still went out there and pitched. Wasn't throwing 93, 94, but still 90, 92 and threw strikes. And threw the changeup more as well.
Coach Forbes, could you discuss the power and the speed that the Diamond Heels have showcased this week? With 6 home runs, and D'Onofrio hit one off the wall and just blazed around for an inside the park home run. And then 8 stolen bases on the week. And Stevenson showing power and Asuna hitting 2 against Longwood.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's really coming from, controlling the strike zone and getting their pitches to hit and getting a good swing off. The speed is one thing that we felt like could be a big bonus for us this year. We felt like we could distribute it throughout the lineup. We could have some guys that, very rarely would it be a slow type guy back to back to back. And we want to put pressure on defenses. And the way you do that is you control the strike zone. You make pitchers work to get you out. So therefore they have to throw strikes. That's number one. Number two, you want to hit doubles and home runs because that's important. And then you want to pressure them on the bases. And that's going to allow you to get extra runs. So I still don't think we're really going with the long ball, honestly. Alberto obviously is Alberto. He's got as much power as anybody I've ever coached. But, Parks Harbor is going to hit home runs. D'Onofrio is going to hit home runs. Luke is starting to hit home runs. I still feel like our third base, right now we're platooning there a little bit with Johnny, maybe Gavin, and Vanderbrake. They're going to hit some home runs. So I'm excited about that as well. And then Madera's hit some balls in these games at a lot of parks, especially opposite field, are home runs. So I think he's got a couple in there as well.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to follow up on what you saw from Shea Sprague going 4 innings against Princeton, giving up 2 runs. And then Folger Boaz, going a quality start, going 7 on Friday. That has to be good for the bullpen.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We could have sent Shea back out there, but it was his first start. He had thrown out of the bullpen at ECU, and we hadn't had a lot of time to prep him for that start. But I thought he did okay. He was a little bit rusty with some of his off-speed pitches, but I thought he got better as he went. And that we still got longer starts, even though there were 4 innings. 4 innings isn't that bad in college baseball now. You get to that 4, then it shortens your bullpen because you got that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But if you're only going 2 or 3, then it really changes things. So DeCara being on the pitch count and Sprague, I thought he threw well. We haven't decided for sure what order or who we're going to throw. We know DeCara and Boaz will start on the weekend for sure. We think we probably will go with Sprague, but we're going to look at the matchup a little bit more. But I was pleased, and he'll say he didn't pitch very well, and that's good because you don't walk anybody, you hit 1, you strike out 4. But his command can be better, and it will be. This week we'll work on that.
Staying on the rotation there, if my poor attempt at math works, you've thrown 16 pitchers so far this season. I think 18 position players have got on at bat. So you've played a ton of guys. But I wanted to sort of piggyback off the question Grace asked you after the game yesterday is how do you want these starters to go long. You'd love if you can pull 7 innings every start. But then you've got all these arms that you need to get work in. We talked about Poston pitching yesterday and maybe being rusty or not as loose as he needed to be. So just sort of walk us through that process of I've got a stable of guys that can do it. They've got to do it on this stage. But also there's kind of that balance of I want Boaz to go 7, but I also want Mateus to get work every game or every other game. How's the balance there?
I think it's a good thing from the standpoint you don't have to put as much pressure on your starters. You want to, with the depth of our bullpen, the guys are really emerging and throwing better and better and better. And there's some power arms in there too, with Matthias, with Houck, with Poston, with Pence. I mean, that's 4 pitchers right there. That if they throw 1 inning apiece, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you get to that 4. And we need to be smart with that. We talked about that today. We can't be afraid to take the starter out on this team because it's a lot like you're seeing in the big leagues. You've got all these power arms, and if they all can go 1 inning, 2 max, their stuff's going to play even better. And going to a Matty Matthias in the 5th might be better than putting even Folger Boaz back out there in the 5th potentially if everybody's ready to go and you can stack them 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where you need those starters to go longer is if you don't have that depth. But when you do have some of that depth, it puts a little less pressure on them, but it makes the decision a little bit harder on me. Okay, do I take him out, even though he's looking really good, knowing that this is the 3rd time through the order, and the chances of them getting to him are better than them getting to Dalton Pence coming in right here. So I think it's a good problem. If we can get now, looking at our staff, if we get 4 or 5 innings, I'm going to feel pretty good.
So the question becomes then is how do you lengthen guys out to have that third guy or that fourth guy that can go the 4, 5, 6 innings?
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have as much talent as you have, like you said, but there's that challenge of, well, I don't want to have 9 guys throw an inning apiece every day.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So how do you lengthen them out without lengthening them out?
Yeah, I mean, you just go by what your eyes tell you. And, the great thing about those two guys, those two freshmen so far, is while one reason they have emerged is if you look at Folger Boaz, he's touching 94 in the 6. DeCaro's touching 93 in the 1st, but he's touching 94 against VCU in the 6. Who holds their stuff like an Alex White did, or who maybe loses some of their stuff? And you got some starters that if you don't get to them early, they get a little bit better as they go. Or you get some that you kind of know, like we felt like with Shea that third time through the other day with his, his weapons are what they are. He's not going to reach back and throw one by you at 93 late in the game. But you do, in a perfect world, you got those starters then go out there and throw 100 pitches because sometimes it takes 100 pitches to get through 5. So that's kind of my mark. I want every starter to be able to go out there and throw 100. They're going great, a little bit more. They get taxed a little bit less. But that was also what the preseason was for. We feel like we have some guys that are capable to lengthen out. We got that mix of 5 or 6 guys, even though they've been in the bullpen. They have done that if we need them to do that.
Coach Forbes, can you talk about how you've observed your captain, Vanderbrake, handling his leadership roles, along with struggling a bit in the field and the plate with playing time? And obviously, he's been like one of the first coming out of the dugout to cheer on his teammates. Can you talk about the leadership that he's provided and how he's handled this?
Yeah, that's why he's a captain. He's a heck of a player too. Everybody has bad stretches, and when you have depth, you're not going to play somebody necessarily just because they are your captain. You're going to play whoever you think is going to give your team the best chance to win. And Vandy understands that, and Vandy understands what our program's all about, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to win. He's competitive. He wants to be in the game. But, the reason he had that great at bat against that nasty sidearmer yesterday because his attitude's good. He stings the ball to left field, and he catches it, So he's a mature kid. We all know what he's capable of doing, and we all know that, our players know. Like, we talk about it all the time. The lineup's going to change. Some guys start off hot. Some guys don't. You might be in the lineup. You might be out of the lineup. And sometimes being out of the lineup makes you better in the long run. So he's just the definition of what you look for in a coach. He does a lot of things for us. Obviously, he would like to be performing, and he will perform. But that's why we have the culture that we have, is because our captain like that is in the lineup, out of the lineup, and his attitude doesn't change.
I mean, on a related note, Johnny Casacanazzi looked really comfortable at the plate, coming in to fill in at third base and looked comfortable at the hot corner. Can you talk about his stepping up when the opportunity shows up?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Johnny hadn't had a start, and he had a great preseason. And he's played a ton. Last year, had a blood clot, and he had to miss the first month. And that wasn't his fault, but his attitude's been good. He's mature. He's more mature than he's ever been. He's also one of our leaders. He's older. He's played in big games. He started in, regionals and super regionals, and he's been in the box in big situations. And he's tougher than he's ever been. His bat speed's good. So felt like, hey, he deserved that opportunity. And it's just one of those teams where we'll have some guys in and out. We have some guys that can pitch hit and help us win games. But I was pleased that he performed because he deserved it. He sat over there and pulled hard for Jackson. He pulled hard for Gavin. When he got his opportunity, he played well.
Let me defer here for a second, or detour for a second.
Okay.
How you're very positive. You said that yesterday. You said it a lot of times. Where's that come from?
It was how I was raised, really. We weren't given an option. My dad grew up in a dairy farm in Wake Forest, and he didn't come from much, but he grew up in an awesome family, and they weren't allowed to complain in his family. Mom grew up in Goldsboro, really kind of Newton Grove, Goldsboro. Her father had 14 siblings. I think 12 of them were guys. They all fought in World War II. So they both came from not much, but they came from parents that didn't complain about not having much. And, it's just thankfully I was brought up that way. Like, hey, I don't want to hear it. You're not going to complain. You're going to work hard and you're going to be positive. We're not going to say things that we shouldn't say. And that's part of positivity too. My dad's mom, I never heard her say a bad word about somebody else. She would just get really quiet and say, if I don't have anything nice to say, I'm not going to say anything at all. But I do believe that, the more you work on it, the better you get at it, because we all have days where we don't want to be positive. I didn't want to be positive when we got walked off against East Carolina, obviously, but try to dig deep and find something positive from it. And life's just better that way, in my opinion, because nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer. At least I don't.
I agree 100%. I mean, at least half the battle is having a positive mindset. And of all the people I've covered, you probably have one of the most positive that I've ever dealt with. And I asked that question because I'm watching your guys throw it around yesterday, and we laughed about it a little bit after the game. But what's going through a coach's mind? I know what goes through your mind as a little league coach or a travel ball coach. I've been there. But as a college coach, what are you doing? And it's not funny, but it kind of was a little bit, given it didn't really affect the game, when they're literally throwing it all over the field. And Princeton did their fair share too.
It happens. So there's two. The first Sunday, out of the blue, Kobe makes 2 errors and Madera makes 1. We have 3 errors in one game by our best defenders. And then yesterday, Matthias goes out and strikes out the side, I think. In the next innings, when that happened, thankfully we were able to laugh about it a little bit because it didn't put us down. Because then you're definitely like, what the heck just happened? But it happened so fast. I told Kobe. I mean, honestly, Kobe makes that play, and I thought he just didn't make it. And then Johnny made a bad decision because he shuffled his feet, and then Kobe tried to make another play. What I never want our guys to feel like is that they can't try to make plays, because I don't think you can win a national championship or any championship if you don't make great plays, right? If you're just making the routine play, of course. If you can't make the routine play, you're going to stink. But you also have to backhand a ball, throw that ball to third base like Kobe did. Johnny's got to tag it. If the ball gets away, Johnny's got to get that ball and make a play. So I just talked to him about, like, hey, I know that looked like a circus right there, but you guys can make those plays. So just make them next time. Like, don't do much different except be a little more under control. Because even Kobe, because Kobe threw the ball third, Johnny threw the ball to home, and then didn't Kobe throw the next ball?
Yeah, I still don't know how he got back into play there.
That was a hustle play. So I complimented. I don't know how you got there, but you were there, and you tried to make the play, and you didn't make it. And unfortunately, before you blink, you give up 3 runs. But you talk to your team about it too. Like, hey, that's a situation where we know we have to make those plays. Because when we play a team like us, if you notice the weekend when they did not make a play because of our offense and the better competition play, it may not go as well next time. So you use it as a teaching tool, like, okay, we can't let that happen again. Here's how we're going to try not to let it happen again. Because if it's, Campbell or Pitt this weekend, potentially, that hitter may be the 3-hole guy, and he might hit a grand slam, and then we're up by 1.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, really, there's not much else. I don't know if I've seen that. 3 errors in one play and 3 runs. I've seen a lot of things, but it was like my head went there, and I was like, what just happened?
It was like somebody just hold the damn baseball. Stuff.
Well, I got a text. Somebody said, man, that was a good win, ugly win. I texted him back quickly. I said, a wise old friend of mine told me he's never seen a bad win. There's no such thing. And that's another motto I've gone by. Like, you know what? I was listening to talk radio, people complaining about our Miami game. Mm. And I'm like, well, we gave up 18 threes or whatever. RJ had an unbelievable game, and we won. Move on to the next day. Who gives a darn, right? Because if we'd have played unbelievable, but they hit a 3 at the last minute and we lost, what are we going to say? We play unbelievable. We're happy we played great. No, you're happy when you win. So thankfully 100%. That play happened and we did win.
It was crazy. Yeah. Princeton had their fair share of throwing it around and plays. Matt, hold on. Let me ask one more question about the error deal. And I apologize for hogging the time, but those type plays, to your point, you can somewhat live with. It's those eras of casualness that Princeton, quite frankly, had a couple of them. I think D'Onofrio may have had one in the outfield early in that game. It just, there's a difference in an era. Even though it looks the same on the stat sheet,
There's
or
a big
is there a
difference.
difference?
That's why you have
Yeah,
to be really careful looking at fielding percentage, because Colby Wilkerson may make more errors than your average shortstop. Madera may make more errors just simply because they get to more balls. And they can potentially make more plays, or a team may play on turf the whole year and they don't have any bad hops. But the little things, that's what we work on, right? Like cutting that ball off, D'Onofrio, let the guy get the second right out the gate. Like, we got to be better on situations like that. Throwing the ball to the right base in the outfield, making sure if it's a tandem like Vance did against ECU, you hit Colby, then we throw the guy out the plate. If you don't pick that ball up, you don't throw it to Colby, he's safe at the plate, and that's one run. You might lose that game. So, backing up the right base. Or is there a first and third defense on and your pitcher misses it, like what happened against Princeton on Friday, and the guy steals home because we picked first and we weren't supposed to pick first? Those are the things that people don't know that we need to make sure we continue to work on and be good at. Because it's an error if you don't back up the right base. We had a play yesterday where Parks caught a ball. I think it was a fly ball, and they had first and third, and the pitcher went to first base instead of backing up home plate. Parks threw the ball to home plate. Nobody's backing up home plate. The ball skips away. Nobody's there. Like a little thing like that. So that's the type of things that's where the coaching comes in.
Coach Forbes, it's always interesting to see continuation of scheduling and seeing Princeton get a chance to come back to the Bosch. What's your relationship like with the UNC legend Scott Bradley, who graduated in 1982?
It's great. He's a huge Tar Heel, huge supporter. We have their number one pitcher coming here next year. Unfortunately, he has an injury where he's going to miss a little bit of time, but he's good. He's lefty, 92, 94. Got an extra year with COVID. He committed to us. So we didn't get to face him, which we were kind of looking forward to. We thought that would be pretty cool. But he's a Tar Heel through and through. We're going to try to get them back down here, even if it's maybe midweek during spring break and things like that, because scheduling weekends change. But it's good to have any Tar Heels back here that you can get back here.
And then talking about Tar Heels, Coach Fox made his debut as a color commentator on the ACC network. Did you get a chance to talk to him before he did the broadcast, and did you get any feedback, or did you hear any of his?
Oh yeah, I told him I was going to watch every single pitch, and I was going to dissect everything he said. I thought he was really good, which is not surprising. Coach is going to do his prep, and not that he had to do a lot of prep because he knows our team. It's going to be really hard for Coach Fox to be neutral. So they're going to have to accept the fact that he's going to say "we" a lot until he can get better at that. And I would be the same way. But I think it's awesome. He's a baseball guy, and they should have him more often. It's good to be able to listen to a game and have that insight of somebody that's been in a dugout, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you can quantify having the inside baseball aspect of a game. And I thought he did well. Like you said, he said "we" and "us" a few times, and I'm like, if anybody can say it, I mean, you're the guy that could say it.
100%.
But I understand, the media wants you to be neutral and all that. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be tough for Coach Mike Fox to be neutral about Carolina baseball.
Yeah, he ain't neutral.
So what did we learn from this past 5 games and the weekend? You mentioned Boaz and DeCaro are going to get weekend starts. But you got Campbell tomorrow night, Tuesday night down in Bowie's Creek, and you got a Pittsburgh team that can score some runs.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I saw 19 a couple times. Yeah, ACC play is already here. It seems crazy to think about. But the pitching rotation, what do you guys think may shake out for Carolina?
Yeah, no doubt. That's the first thing I'll tell our guys today. Great job winning 5 games, because it's hard to do. You look around college baseball, I mean, it's just not easy. Duke lost a game to Akron. East Carolina lost yesterday. It's just not easy no matter who you play. So that was a good week for us. We don't have too many of those. We should be playing, honestly. We're one of those teams that we don't play during exams. And, that makes us cram games in, which can be harder because those 5 games a week, when you get in the league, they're a little tougher on your pitching. We're going to start Connor Bovair tomorrow, which I'm excited about that. He's done really well. He's starting to get back into form. He's older. He's been in these type of games. I'm excited to watch him pitch. We do feel like we're going to use a lot of guys, and we feel like it's important we get off to a good start. And we feel like Connor's going to get us off to that good start. We just met about it. I look at my phone because Coach Howell and Coach Gaines just sent me. This weekend, we're going to go Boaz, DeCaro, and Sprague. We were just trying to figure out, do we want to go Sprague Saturday or DeCaro Saturday? But that's one reason we took DeCaro out at 70 pitches. We wanted the ability to move him to that Saturday spot all 5 days. So I'm excited. We're going to go 3 totally different guys, lefty, righty, and then a softer lefty on Sunday. So we'll go Bovair, Boaz, DeCaro, and Sprague.
An interesting rotation there. And, yeah, like you said, you've got the arms. They need to get in there. Boaz has been fantastic, and I think DeCaro is going to make a lot of money playing baseball one day. I mean,
well, the other guy that we would like, he's just been under the weather, so we gave him I gave him a hall pass against East Carolina. I mean, his tonsils were huge and swollen up, and he's been fighting tonsillitis. He's still, he's at the doctor today because it keeps flaring back up. His Olin Johnson, he hadn't hardly been able to eat. The first outing, he's 92, 93 every pitch. There's no coincidence he was 88 to 90 at ECU. He's lost about 10 pounds. So we got to get him back in the mix as well. I'm hoping that he can get healthy this week, just physically. It's not his arm. His arm feels great. It's his body, and get him on the mound and get him prepped to be ready for Pitt as well, because he's going to fight to get back in that rotation. He's a lot like DeCaro. He's got a very, very high ceiling, and, we'll move Flannery back to the bullpen.
All right. I'm going to wrap it here, but I want to ask you one more fun question. We talked about Madeira. I think it was Madeira brought Subway to the pregame meal.
That was
D'Onofrio. Yep, D'Onofrio. I asked Hawk, did he bring food his first day, since he's another JUCO guy at Fayetteville Tech. But what is Scott Forbes' go-to pregame meal, and what are you not touching pregame meal if it shows up?
Personally, mine.
Your personal.
Pretty light. Like I can't have like a hammer meal. Like I feel like I'm about to fall asleep in the dugout. So if it's a night game, probably like some grilled chicken and like maybe a sweet potato or baked potato. That's what we're eating, like at Outback or something. Or just like a light sub from Jersey Mike's. Try to stay pretty healthy, and maybe a little bit of caffeine right before the game starts. Not too much. Depends on how much I had in the morning or how late the night was before. And that's something, I tell you, that's a great question. That's something that I have learned and our players have learned. Like if we pay attention to it and we work hard on trying to be better nutritionally, it helps you as this season moves along, because you're so hungry and you just don't need to be crushing pepperoni pizzas.
Yeah, you don't need to have that brick walking around in your stomach out there trying to play ball games. Scott, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Appreciate you making time on a busy Monday. For Inside Carolina, I'm Tommy Ashley. That's Matt Clements, Johnny T-Shirt, JohnnyT-Shirt.com, and Congruity, our sponsors. Scott, good luck this week. I'm sure we will talk. Survive Bowie's Creek. Harnett County can get kind of crazy down there.
Yeah, we wanted to have some – I did that on purpose. We went to East Carolina. We go here. We got to go to Miami next week. It's always really hard there. So the tougher environments you can get in. But, our crowds have been great. I did want to give them a shout-out and tell them, hey, we need you to be loud. We need you to be there this weekend. And we want to work on continuing to create some type of home field atmosphere with an advantage. So, you have my permission to be as loud as you want and to yell as much as you want.
There you go. To the fella that was in the bleachers yesterday yelling nonstop. I know you can't talk. I know you can't talk today, but Scott Forbes says yell as much as you want. Friday
Keep it going. I'll get you some good seats.
Hey, he had a pretty good one. It was hilarious. It's always fun. It's always a fun time in Bosch. It's always a great conversation with you. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.